Adrienne from Always Home Yoga, welcoming you to season 3 of the Yoga Saved Me podcast. We'll continue to talk with yogis about why yoga is so important to them and offer meditation, yoga nidra, and movement practices. My wish for you is to be well. So I'm so thrilled and honored on this Talk Tuesday to have Michelle O'Brien. Michelle, thank you for joining.
Thank you for having me.
You're so welcome, and this is always a favor to me. I hope I don't cry, but hearing yoga stories, it's it's because I find yoga to be so special. So tell us how you got into yoga and everything we should know about why you love yoga so much.
Sure. So my first experience with yoga was in my early 20s. I may have been 19 or 20 the first time I was exposed to yoga, and it was when I worked at a gym, a fitness center, while I was in university. And I was studying human movement. My undergrad degree was in kinesiology, so doing activity and exercise wasn't out of the norm for me. And I did teach other fitness classes, and I started doing yoga with one of the other instructors that I worked with at the gym. And it really, in terms of sort of mindfulness, it didn't have a profound effect on me when I was that young. But what I did notice at that age was it was really effective in terms of helping me with my digestion, because I had grown up with lots of problems with digestion. So I really noticed that doing a practice of yoga helped with that. So through my early 20s, I did yoga just sort of as a means of complementing my other activities. I started to volunteer at a yoga studio when I lived in Toronto doing my master's in physical therapy. And I started to get more into the mindfulness, the spiritual practice of yoga. And it helped me through my years of university just to sort of stay at a level of calm. And I feel like most of my life, most of my personality is really calm, and I'm always sort of at a base level of calm. But in my early 20s and even into my early 30s, I didn't really have many experiences that sort of took me outside of that norm.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, so
That's unusual, I think
yeah,
that's
so
wonderful.
so life was, sort of ticked along. It wasn't nothing sort of out of the ordinary happened. And then in my near mid 30s, I got divorced. So this was my first experience with something like truly profound. And my divorce was as a result of infidelity from my husband. And this was something that I wasn't equipped to manage. I didn't know how to manage all of those emotions. I didn't know what to do with myself, basically. And I didn't come into my yoga practice when that happened right away. It took some time. You go through the stages of grief, and you do what you have to do to get by. And I did eventually come back to my yoga practice, and it helped to ground me. It helped to bring me back to myself. And this
Oh,
didn't
yeah.
happen. I mean, it didn't happen in a month. It didn't happen in a year. It took several years for me to feel like I was back to myself, and I was doing practices that helped me evolve as a person. Um, so
Oh, yeah. I've experienced divorce and I understand that pain. I'm so sorry you had to go through that. It is shocking. And then you say the circumstances didn't help. Then you got dealing with trust issues and all that kind of stuff. So I'm glad that you said, it took you a while to get over it because I mean, it's a devastating thing to get over.
it really,
And
yeah.
it is. So, and you kind of mentioned it, but how did you say eventually, initially you didn't use the yoga for your emotions, but how did that eventually come into play that you could see that the yoga was helping you in ways that maybe you didn't think it was initially? Because I know for me, for grief, that's when I poured myself into yoga, not necessarily thinking it was going to help with grief,
Yeah,
but just some kind of how. And sometimes it was a place just to cry on the yoga mat. This is online. I didn't necessarily move, but just to be there for, because at least when you're doing yoga, you're taking that time for you. You're stopping everything else. So that
exactly.
was a
Yeah.
starting point with me with grief. Yeah. How about,
And I think, for me, like, my initial experience, in stillness, I would call it stillness, would have been when I was more into my university studies, and my master's program was much more intense than my previous studies. So my yoga practice helped to ease anxiety as a result of, studying and preparing for exams. I know that I had a few occurrences through my studies where I nearly failed something, or I didn't perform as well as I thought I would. So I used my practice to help, for my next exam, for my next project. So the next things I needed to do. And that's where I really noticed the practice of just being still and mindful helped carry me through more difficult times in my life. And I probably didn't connect that even when I was, going through a divorce. You just kind of come back into your practice when you need it,
Exactly,
and you don't
funny you
and you don't
yeah,
realize that you're doing it.
you don't I kinda say lover yoga is like, like that faithful lover or whatever that welcomes you back. You can stray from it a little bit or but when you need yoga, there with the open arms, like, come back in and get
Mhm.
what you need from the practice. Where did you study? You mentioned graduate school in Canada. Are you Canadian? Are you in Canada? Were you an undergrad in Canada?
So I was born and raised in Newfoundland, which is a small province. It's one of the two islands, part of Canada. So I grew up there. I did my first university degree in Nova Scotia, which is also part of Eastern Canada, and then I moved to the big city, Toronto, in Ontario, and I was there to do my master's in physical therapy. From Toronto, I moved to Northern Ontario, which is close to the Minnesota border. So very cold in the winter. And
Extremely. You went from cold to cold. I didn't hear anything
ex-
warm.
well, we're getting there. When I did go through my divorce, I left, Ontario and moved back to Eastern Canada, and I was there for a couple of years, and I just felt like I didn't settle. I wasn't settling in. So I decided to, move to Qatar in the Middle East.
Wow, I love that. Okay.
So I moved there, and I was there for 6 years. And 3 years into being there, yeah, 3 years, I met my now husband.
Oh, wow.
And
Okay. Was he also Canadian? Just happened to be Canadian, or were you in
no,
his part of the world?
he's actually Spanish.
Okay.
Um, so we were living in Qatar, got married there. We got pregnant very quickly, but that pregnancy didn't survive. And this is where I'll cry.
No, I'm gonna cry too. I'm so sorry. That is a real death. You lost a child. I'm so sorry.
And then it happened again. So we were pregnant again quite quickly, but that, also resulted in a miscarriage. And
I'm so sorry. And that is common, isn't it? I mean, it's not uncommon for that to happen with
no, it
you to
isn't. And I think,
suffer. So sorry. That is
oh,
so
thank you.
painful. So
Um,
painful.
it's I don't think I would have, been able to get through the pregnancy losses had I not had, an experience going through grief from a divorce. I don't know that I would have been equipped with what I needed to survive. But so that was two pregnancy losses, and then we were pregnant again, and now our son is two.
Yay. Oh my gosh. All of that happened for you in a short, short period.
Yes, I was pregnant 3 times in 2020, between 2021 and 2022, and our son was born in January of 2023. So
Congratulations. So you
yeah,
just had a birthday. Do y'all do parties? Couldn't really do a party in 2020. Um, I don't know. People doing parties. We're still in the pandemic, but I think it's safer to do parties.
yeah, and I mean our I think our view has been we've got a few years before we need to like throw a party because he's so little.
Great. He's so
Um,
little.
Yeah. So, I mean, those have been so that was my experience in Qatar when my husband and I were having our son, our successful pregnancy. We decided that we would move to Spain, and we've been here for 2 years.
Now, did you move back to where he's from, or maybe where he has family, or is this a new adventure for him as well? It's his home country, but is he back to someplace familiar?
So his family's in Madrid, and we're in the south of Spain in Marbella. So he was offered a really great opportunity to work down here in the south of Spain, and we thought it would be a really nice opportunity to be closer to his family and also much closer to my family, because it's much easier for them to get here than it was to Qatar, because it's just so much further. So we're closer to family, but in our own little area as well.
Yeah, win-win. And
Yeah.
then I've never been to Qatar. So what kind of adjustment for lifestyle was that for you? I mean, adjustment anyway, because you have a son, a baby, different. But how is it different? Had you lived in Europe before, but how's living in Spain different from living in Qatar in the Middle East?
I mean, going from Canada to Qatar was an adjustment to climate. It's a different climate. It's much warmer there, and also culture. So it's a different culture, but it's a very progressive country. They accept expats. There's lots for people that aren't from Qatar to do, and there are lots of people, like there are lots of Canadians there. One of the reasons that I went there was because a lot of my high school teachers, when they retired, went out to Qatar and taught at a Canadian college that opened there. So I was familiar with the country, knew some people that were there. So that sort of made the transition and adjustment a little bit easier. And then when my husband and I met and got married and went through all of our experiences and then ultimately ended up moving to Spain, I was a little bit more prepared for the transition. But I think some of the things we didn't account for when we decided to make the move was just the number of transitions that we were going to go through, and particularly me, because I was um, leaving Qatar, which was a country that I had been in for several years. I was leaving my job, entering a new phase of life, which is motherhood, and moving to a country where I didn't speak the language.
Exactly.
So
No, that's a lot. That's a lot. Any one of them would be enough or a lot, but to combine them, that's a lot, which can cause a lot of stress and anxiety. How did your mindfulness practice help you through pregnancy and then to this transition to, like you say, motherhood, new
mhm.
language, new culture?
Yeah. So I really leaned into my practice when I was pregnant. When I was pregnant the first time, it was brief. Like my miscarriage happened after 7 weeks, and I was teaching yoga, doing yoga, but not really because I was pregnant, just because. But after the miscarriage, I used just a very slow and gentle practice, more meditation to help myself accept the loss of the baby. And then when I was pregnant again for the second time, my yoga practice did help to ease anxiety. It helped to um, allow me to transition through being pregnant after a loss. And but then what you when you're pregnant after a loss, you don't expect to have another loss. So my practice did help to allow me to accept that and be open to trying again for another baby. And in the
And
third
Michelle, dare I say fear? Because aren't you afraid? Is this fear or is this an
Oh, of
amount of
course, yeah,
fear?
and
Yeah.
there's an immense amount of fear when you're pregnant after loss. You hold on to every milestone. So, my first pregnancy loss happened at 7 weeks. So you get to 7 weeks, and you're like, okay, you know, everything is okay. You have an ultrasound. Okay, the heartbeat is still there. And then when I made it to 12 weeks, that was the furthest that I had made it. And then you get to 20 weeks. So you're getting further and further, but there's still fear. And I carried that fear all the way into my delivery. And despite all of my practice and despite doing breath work and going through guided meditations to help ease um, pregnancy related anxiety and anxiety about delivery, it was still difficult to manage that. So some of the things that I want to help other people with is really easing that level of fear and easing that anxiety, because I needed more of it when I was pregnant, and there's not a lot out there for people that are pregnant after loss, because I think a lot of people are just scared to work with us.
So that's where your specialty came into kind of
Yeah.
crystallized
So-
for you. You're like, I want what I didn't have. I want to
exactly.
offer what I didn't have.
Exactly.
Let's
Yeah.
talk more about what you offer then. What does that look
So
like to someone?
my programs are I want to work with women that are pregnant for the first time after the age of 40, that are pregnant after infertility or loss, because those are the areas that lack support. And I feel like we need the support when we're pregnant at an older age, when we've experienced loss or we've experienced infertility. Those are the periods of time where you do need a lot of support, and there's just not enough available. So that's sort of my niche area that I want to work with, that I prefer to work with. And what I offer is prenatal yoga that's supportive for women in those categories. And I also offer birth coaching and support as a physiotherapist that's worked with women in pregnancy and postpartum.
So that's amazing. And it's something that you can only offer to clients in Spain physically. We can use the internet for good when it comes to the.
No, so this can all be done virtually. So I can work with anyone in any part of the world as long as sort of our time zones align. If we want to do like face-to-face voice or video calls, and I'm also just about to finish a 21-day guide to a calm and confident pregnancy, and that would be a program that's available and can be done self-paced, and then you can add on extra support as needed. So there's lots of opportunity to provide support in different ways.
So say it again, 21 days to a calm or calm pregnancy. Comfortable, what did you say? 21 days,
A calm and confident pregnancy.
confident, calm and confident pregnancy. And it's self-paced. So is it 21 days? Is there any significance? Do I have to be in a certain trimester or a certain part of my pregnancy?
No, so it can be used in any trimester. So all of the practices would be safe for any trimester, and you can come into the practice at any point in your pregnancy.
And is it fantastic? And is it the type of thing that I can use after my baby comes, or do you have something different? Do mothers need something different? And it would depend if you have postpartum and all that. I know it's no one size fits all, but I know you specifically want this for prenatal,
Yeah, so
right?
this particular course would be for the prenatal period, and then so that would be the beginning of someone's journey with me, and then as they have their baby, they're going into their postpartum period. Then I have other support options available, and right now for the postpartum period, I have support as a physiotherapist and coach for postpartum care. I've not developed anything that can be done offline yet.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
And I wonder, do you feel in general that mothers of all ages get enough support during the postpartum phase?
I really don't think that we do, and I think that we're not prepared for the ups and downs of motherhood. I feel like most people, when they tell you about their experiences, they sort of give you the silver lining. They don't give you the not so nice things that we experience as first time moms or just as parents in general, because everything that you find is it seems easier than it actually is. Like I think more of us struggle with our baby's sleep than we're led to believe. More people struggle with feeding their infants than we're led to believe. So these are the kind of things that I feel like we need more support with. And some of the things that I've been working on as well is just doing lots of different guided meditations. So I've got like a whole bank of recordings that I'm I'm preparing to put out in the world so that moms get a little bit more support.
Oh, that's fantastic. And I know meditation can make a difference, whether, and it doesn't have to be, 20 minutes or, not even 10 minutes,
Yeah.
right? So talk about that because you say you have meditation. Talk a little bit about the different tools. Like you mentioned, meditation can help when you're in the postpartum phase. It can help in all phases, I know, but we kind of talked about prenatal. You've got a 21-day program that people can take self-paced, which is great,
Mhm.
suitable anytime during your pregnancy. Your main target is women over 40 who maybe have had a miscarriage or infertility issues, because that's a specific niche that touches your heart that is often ignored. and that
Yes.
you know how to help. Perfect. So in the prenatal phase, we've got the 21-day program. So part of your meditation bank, that would be useful in the postpartum phase. So talk a little bit more about meditation for people who maybe not know what it means or it sounds unattainable.
So for me, a meditation is something that just allows us to take a pause. So it doesn't have to be anything fancy. It could just be sitting for 1 minute and counting your breath. And for some of us, in that 1 minute, we may restart counting our breath several times because we get distracted. But the more we practice, the better we get at letting go of those distractions and just focusing on our breath. So that's kind of where I would start with a meditation practice, is just becoming aware of the breath. And then what can also be introduced is a guided meditation. So, in some of the guided meditations that I like to record, I take someone through just a scan of their body. So, find the areas where they might feel tension, and slowly go through and maybe pause where you find tension, continue to breathe, and then move on. And then other guided, so in my prenatal class that I was just teaching, I did like a guided script for going through labor. So taking it each stage and allowing the participant, the yogi, to imagine what it might be like in each phase and how the breath can guide you through each phase. And in the for moms, one of the meditations, or one of the guided meditations that I have, is just to reduce stress. So a little guided script, and I think the one that I've recorded and it's on my YouTube channel is maybe like 5 or 8 minutes long, and it's just to settle into the body, the breath, to allow yourself to relax and cope with stress. And I did this at Christmas time, so like stress related to the holidays.
Those are fantastic. Thanks for the offerings, by the way. And those are fantastic examples of how you don't need a lot of time for meditation, right? And if you have more time, take it. Now, what about people that, okay, I don't even have 5 minutes of meditation? And trust me, busy moms, that could be, right? So, what is your tip for sneaking it in, like your postpartum? You know what I mean? Because you're tired, you're exhausted. You know what I'm talking about. What is your best, like, is there a time of the day or a certain action when you do this? Maybe add in meditation.
I know one of the things that I try to do before I react to something that my toddler has done is to just pause and take a deep breath and remind myself that he's still a baby and he's not doing this on purpose. So that little check in with myself, and
Right.
that's just a 10-second check in, even if it's 10 seconds. It might not even be 10 seconds, but just a pause, breathe before reacting.
And so that's anywhere in the grocery store, at home, in the car, and that's accessible to anyone. Stop,
Yeah,
stop. So you want to respond and not react. So when something happens that's upsetting. Now, of course, if it's a danger thing, you react right away to move somebody out of danger. But when it's a
of
reaction to
course,
somebody spills something or painted on some precious surface or
yeah.
something, right, then you can
Yeah.
pause, breathe, remember who you're dealing with, a child, a toddler with no ill intentions. And then do you have to have anything? Do you sometimes feel like, "Ugh, why did I react that way?" Like self-compassion for yourself, not just for the person that maybe upset
I
you.
I think that that's important because I mean, speaking personally for me and how I've dealt with my toddler, the hardest part for me is sleep. And sleep has been very difficult for us, and we have a very sensitive child who needs a lot of support to sleep. So my sleep is often affected and interrupted by that. So when he is not feeling well or needs a lot of support and interrupts my sleep, I need to um, pause and remember before I speak that he's not interrupting me on purpose. So I often will just take a little breath before I respond. And I'm fortunate to have, a supportive partner that can remind me as well sometimes, or take the toddlers and calm them down, put them back to sleep, so that it's not always my duty. So that it's
Right.
nice to have a supportive partner that can help with that.
Yeah, and maybe even, because it's good, frame it. He's not interrupting me, but even frame it that that's not when your baby needs you, it's not even an interruption, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So you can take it to another, remind yourself, I have a 24-hour job being his mom. It's not an interruption. I'm grateful I was here when he needed me.
Hmm.
I mean, there are a lot of ways that you can do that self-talk though. So that's important that you start with that, address the other person, because we know it's normal to react. So I like that. It's giving me a lot of ideas because it can happen with adults. You're in there and you're like, why? And then, remember, they're not interrupting me. They're consulting with me. They're partners of it. There are lots of ways to reframe that. Now, how much is your partner or husband into yoga, if any?
So he practices, not regularly, but he does enjoy doing a home practice for. And I think for him, he does it more for stretching and relieving tension in his muscles, rather than um, for the mindful aspect. But he does go back through his practice from time to time.
No, and I ask because I always laugh, and I can't get my husband to do yoga. But two mindfulness things he's really good at. He's a really good mindful eater, and I'm working on eating slower because I eat too fast. That's my
Yeah.
mindfulness eating problem. He's really good at that, and he's also good with daily walks. I think he does. What do we call it? Walking meditations.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because he's really good with that and contemplative, and he knows when he's like, okay, I need to get out and move and walk, and so he's really good about listening to his body and what's going on in his whatever that he knows that that's something that he needs to do. So I'm proud of him for that. I'm never going to get him on the yoga,
And that's fine.
and that's fine. And I am trying to be more mindful when it comes to eating like him, and take more of those walks with him, so he can help my mindfulness in other ways. Now it's too soon with little baby, but tell me, like, what's your first mommy and me mindfulness experience going to be with the baby if you haven't already had it? Like, because with your experience and everything, you have this opportunity to raise a mindful kid. That with all these, what's your plans?
So what something that I do now with my little guys when he is getting upset is I just put him on my lap and just breathe with him. And we just take big breaths and blow out. And what I also do with him as well is not like blow in his face, but like blow out on him so he can feel my breath. And it always makes him laugh when I do that. So he thinks it's funny. So that's just how I've been introducing how you can regulate your emotions with your breath.
That's fantastic, and he probably would love it if you blew in his face. I think it's
Yeah,
even funnier.
and he loves when I roll my yoga mat out, and I'm not able to do a lot of yoga with him around because he just climbs on me, and now he's a bit bigger, a bit stronger, so he climbs and then he jumps on me. It hurts. So we do a little bit of yoga practice where he's climbing all over me, climbing, going under me, and he'll do some downward dog and planks and breathing.
No,
So
that's
that,
fantastic.
yeah,
And he, like you say, he loves when you roll the mat out. He knows something's going to happen. Right?
yeah.
This is so that's fantastic. Oh gosh, I wish even I had started as early as you at 19 in college. Because you said you took your first, but you already had decided your career was going to be about body
Yeah.
and physical things like that. So how has what you learned as a kinesiologist, say that? What is
Well, I'm a physical therapist now.
okay?
Yeah, so that's easier to say.
I can
So
say that. So
I did
tell
do,
us.
yeah, I did do kinesiology, but
Kin-
now I'm a physio. I'm a physio,
Okay,
and we'll
kinesiologist. Okay, just so I can say it, even though you're a physical therapist. So physical therapist, tell me, like, you learned a lot of anatomy and all of that stuff. How has that helped you? I don't know, lead safer yoga classes, or what has physical therapy like? What does yoga have that physical therapy doesn't? Is it the sutras, the philosophy? Like, what is physical therapy missing? I shouldn't say missing, but you know what I mean? A lot of it's something similar, I guess, because we're in tune with our bodies doing that. So what does like yoga to me is like physical therapy plus. Is that a good way to look at it?
I think so. Yeah, I think they complement each other for sure. I think what yoga has that physical therapy doesn't is that connection between mind and body. What we often get in the practice of as a physical therapist is looking for the source of pain, the source of discomfort, and forgetting that, we have a whole person in front of us. And that practice is changing and evolving now in physical therapy. And we're getting better at working with a whole person rather than, pinpointing, like, I'm working on your shoulder, your rotator cuff tendinopathy, or your frozen shoulder, and that's the only area that I'm looking on. So we're getting better at, exposing the whole person rather than just one area. But something that yoga does is connects mind with body, and it looks at the layers of the body. So we have the physical aspect, the emotional aspect, the spiritual aspect, and that is not often focused on in physical therapy.
Mm. Interesting to hear you say it's evolving and
Yeah.
incorporating more elements. What how much is the 21 prenatal that you offer a physical practice? Like how important are asanas, the physical movement when you're pregnant? We talked about breathing and all that, but how is that part of the 21 day as well?
Yeah, so the program has a journal, a 21-day journal that includes like a gratitude practice, affirmations, and different journal prompts for each day. Then there are 7 yoga classes included in the program, and a yoga nidra, and then a few guided meditations and a few breathing practices as well. So the physical aspect is there because it is important when you're pregnant to continue to be physically active and find physical activity that's suitable for you. So I've included 7 different yoga classes in the program.
And I love the journaling. My gratitude journal practices over 2,200 some days. But I love, you mentioned gratitude, you mentioned journaling. I may sound a little different because my headphones died in the meantime. Something was going on, but hopefully you can still hear me. Yeah,
Of course, yeah, of course, no
it's
problem.
been out. Yeah. So, okay. So, what is the website? How do people get your course when it's ready? If it's not already, like, how do we get the course?
So I have a website. It's www.empowerherholisticwellness.net. So the program will be on my website, and it will be able to be purchased as an online program. So the 21-day Calm and Confident Pregnancy program can be found on my website. And I also have my Instagram, which I link the program on my Instagram, and my Instagram is yoga_therapy_ with Michelle. So yoga
And don't
therapy.
worry, yeah, I'll have it all down, but I wanted people to know and hear it, and I'll have it all in the show notes. So they'll be able to go directly to your website, purchase it. And when you download it, what if I've never taken an online course before? So I'm asking these questions. Is it going to take me to, like, how do I actually do I get, like, for the people who've never done an online course, I have, you have probably, but you know what? There may be some people haven't. Just let them know how easy it is. So you go to your website, you purchase the course, and then what happens next?
Once you purchase the course, it shows up in so you log into the website, you have your login, and then it shows up as a um, I don't know how to describe it best, but it would be like a list of things to do. So first you would get an introduction to the program, and then you would get your guide, your 21-day journal that you can follow along with. And then there would be a section for the classes that you can do with a description of the class and what it's good for. And then an area that has the breathing and relaxation techniques. And then there's also a bedtime restorative class, so a practice that you can do in bed. And what I'm going to also include for anyone that might need it is a pregnancy after loss pack. So that would include just some different journal prompts that can help with pregnancy after loss, and 3 meditations that might be helpful for anyone that is experiencing pregnancy after loss. One of them being a meditation that you might listen to before you go for a scan or doctor's appointments, because those can be very triggering for someone that's experiencing pregnancy after
Imagine.
loss. Yeah.
You've thought of everything. So okay, how wonderful you've thought of everything. So, okay, I just wanted people to understand because, sometimes I think everybody does everything online like I do, but they don't. But so just to know you don't need to be tech savvy, in other words, right? Everybody knows how to go to a website these days, and then you'll click on and then you're guided through. So it's very
Exactly.
low maintenance, or very low tech skills needed. I guess that's what I want to say. You don't need any
Mhm.
special tech skills, just an
No,
internet connection.
exactly. And the hardest part for me in getting this course launched and ready is doing the video recordings, because I'm just not comfortable seeing myself on camera. So just sort of getting past that and over that, and know that there are other people, other postpartum moms, other pregnant moms that are also are, in their 40s and not fit.
And having the same feelings about their bodies.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
I hope that, I'll attract people that are like, okay, she looks kind of like me and I can do this. This makes me feel better about myself. Because it is such a mind um, warp, going from, being very active and super fit and, going through a period of pregnancies that didn't result in babies. I didn't get back to my level of activity that I normally was at. And then you're new into motherhood and you don't have the time that you would dedicate to making really good meals. And it's not even just the time, it's just the energy because you're so tired. So the easiest thing to eat for dinner sometimes is crackers and cookies.
And that's what you do. The baby gets a real meal. And then,
Exactly.
you're like, what left to eat?
Exactly.
Everything
So
gets
it's
finished.
yeah, it's a journey and it takes time to get back to, your body, and your body is never the same after you've had a baby. I mean, you're accepting this new person.
New person who birthed a person.
Exactly.
And every month we could go through that little person's changing, growing personality, all of that. So it's never ending. So that's why having good mindfulness practices, like a good gratitude practice, journal practice, breathing will help you through every phase of motherhood,
Yeah.
right? In every phase of life. Now, I know that being a mother is a challenge. What's the most joyful thing about it? Because you're talking about helping people through some scary times, right?
Hmm.
So what's on the other end of it? Like you say, you're counting 20 weeks and you get through it. It's like, what was the most joyful part for you as someone who's had, the loss and then final the full term?
I think,
Was
I
it
mean,
just simply having the baby, or was it? I
I
was gonna say I
think,
don't know if it was when you knew, okay, we made it.
um, I think it was getting through and having the baby just on me in my hospital bed, and he was just there, like looking at me. That was, peace.
And that's the ultimate, having that naked baby on your chest.
Yeah.
And so all the heartache and stuff that you had to get through, that you got through, that's the reward. And then, as you say, then comes the other part, and that's how. So you're there to help people through postpartum. How far do you take your support, and how long is postpartum in your book, in your mind? Like,
I mean, in my
and you
mind,
help young mothers.
we're always postpartum. You're always postpartum. Um, you know, there's the prenatal period when you're pregnant, and then you're always a postpartum mom. It doesn't matter how old your children are. So I envision my support. The journey starts with pregnancy, and then it carries on into just an empowered womanhood. So I've not created all of the steps of my business yet, but my vision is that I have empower her empower her pregnancy or empower her birth, and then empowered mom, and then empowered strong.
And that's
So
the beauty, because your business is like modeling your life, and like you want, your tribe, these women that are going through it. So it's going to evolve as you go through it yourself, right? And that's the
exactly.
beauty of it. Yeah, that's the
And
beauty of it.
something that's interesting as well to me now in this phase of life is because I'll be 44 this year. And I have a toddler, he's 2, I'm still breastfeeding. So I'm in, like my hormone levels are just all out of whack because I'm still a breastfeeding mom, but I'm also entering perimenopause. So I think my interests are going to change as well when, we discover a little bit more about perimenopause, and, we're talking more about that now. You hear about perimenopause a lot more now than, I ever remember it being talked about in the past. So what does perimenopause look for those of us that are going through it, but also breastfeeding or have young children?
Oh yeah, you got a whole thing there. You'll be covering, so it'll be exciting to see and
Yeah.
follow along with that. Did you have time to offer anything to more than what you've offered? This has been fantastic. But I didn't know if you wanted to do a meditation or anything. I know that if you can't right now, you're gonna be releasing a lot of these meditations. And we'll be able to get those linked from your website and your Instagram, or will it be on your YouTube channel? Because you have a YouTube channel.
Yeah, so I'm putting everything on my YouTube channel, and my Instagram I'm using not as much, but I put everything on YouTube and I do a little bit on Instagram and then my website. So I would say you'd find most of the information on YouTube and my website, and then Instagram kind of complements it.
Okay, because that's the thing. Okay, I'm greatest on Instagram. I'm sorry, YouTube, because people can do it on their phone or their tablet or whatever. If it's a meditation you're listening to, you can have it, easy on your phone. You don't have to be on your computer. So that's
Exactly.
good to remember with YouTube. You can have it because I know sometimes I use a meditation app and it just goes out on my bed. I wake up the next day and it's, whatever happened. So someone can have their phone and listen to your meditation on YouTube or just have it next to them. Even for naps. Before you go, let's talk about naps. What's the power, right? Mommies love naps. And naps can be you can get yourself, you can use meditation as part of your nap time, right?
Yeah, and sometimes, and it might be the phase of life. It could be perimenopause. It could be the hormones from breastfeeding. But I do find that my sleep, even when my son sleeps better now, I'm not sleeping as well. So something that is helpful for me is just reminding myself that I can rest. I might not be sleeping, but I can rest. And I'll often listen to a yoga nidra or a guided meditation to just ease me into the rest. And sometimes I'll fall asleep doing that as well. So that is important to remember as well as a mom, that it not to get frustrated if you can't sleep, but remind yourself that you can rest. And I probably heard that from someone else, but it really resonates with me because I'm in this period of time where sleeping is difficult, and not just because my toddler doesn't sleep well all the time, but even if he does sleep well, I'm like, oh man, this would be a great time to sleep through the night because my son just did.
Well, whoever gave you that advice, it resonates with me too. Thank you, because rest is important. It doesn't have to be sleep, right? It doesn't have
Exactly.
to be full blown
Exactly.
sleep. So rest is important. So I love that. Yoga Nidra, Michelle's meditations, different things like that. You can use it to grab snatches of rest, if not full blown sleep. Where's your son now? I feel like I have to let you go because you got mom stuff to do. How's your
um,
where's your
so
son?
we're super fortunate here in Spain that childcare is not super expensive. So he can go to his nursery school he goes for 5, maybe 6 hours some days. And it gives me time to work on my online business. I do have a few clients that I see here in Marbella. So I have a little bit of time to do work and then just sort of get the house back in order for him to come home and destroy it again.
And start all over again. So
Yeah. So
that's good. So okay, so that would be more advice. Mothers, new mothers, just find whatever support you can. Don't try to go it alone. You need
exactly.
support.
Yeah, I know. Like, I don't really, because we're here in Spain. We don't have our family here, and even like because, and this may happen with a lot of other couples that are in their 40s as well. Your parents are older. It's harder for them to take care of babies. So finding other support is also important. And I thought when I did decide that my husband and I would move here to Spain, he would be working, I wouldn't be working full time anymore. I really thought that I'd love being a stay at home mom, and for me, it's not something that I love, and I love my son, but I am a better mom when I have time to work and do other things other than just be a mom. And I think that's really important to recognize, because I know I'm not the only mom that experiences that. You go into motherhood thinking that, oh, yeah, I can do this. I can be a stay at home mom. That's what I'm going to do. But some of us are just better when we don't do that. And it's really important to accept that about yourself, that that can be your reality. And it's okay if it is your reality.
Yeah, regardless of what society or even your family may think, and like you say, what you originally thought may be best, it may not be. So embrace whatever feels best to you. You won't know till you try, right? You
Exactly. And I mean, exactly. You have no idea how you're going to respond or what's going to happen until it happens. It's really something that you, rather than prepare, you have to accept.
oh, you sound so wise. Rather than prepare, you have to accept. And that's one thing, perfect way to sum it up, really, because that's one thing that yoga helps you do, right?
Exactly, is accept. Yeah.
Helps you accept, helps you respond instead of react. And yoga, please say it one more time, your yoga, your 21 day
So
yoga?
it's a calm and confident pregnancy, a 21-day journey.
It sounds so beautiful. And I love all the elements, the, you know, the gratitude, the journaling, the breathing, the movement, the different types of meditative practices from Yoga Nidra to shorter meditations into breath work. You're really offering all my favorite tools for mindfulness, you know, that I use for grief, for stress. You know, you use them in different ways. But you're
Exactly.
hitting on all the, I think the only thing you didn't do was tapping. Maybe you got some tapping in there. Maybe that's coming later. I don't know. But
It
just
might show.
teasing. Yeah,
I,
I want to
it might show up in some of my classes. Sometimes I'll throw it in.
exactly, because it's not something I do all the time, but sometimes, you know, that's something that you pull in. So
Yeah.
you're using all of mine. So I think that's a fantastic. Oh, if I'm a mom and I get your class online, the 21 day, would I have any opportunity to message you? I would do that through your email or through your Instagram.
Yeah, so I have Instagram, email, and my WhatsApp, which is a messaging app that works worldwide.
Ooh,
Um,
you're very generous with your time offering up your WhatsApp. 'Cause, that is text messages, so
yeah,
people who don't know, you can send
yeah,
direct text messages. Okay, because you know sometimes people need a little more support or just want to ask a question, make sure they're doing it okay. So you're not opposed to getting a text, and your email
mhm,
will have that in the show notes. But
exactly. Yeah.
maybe so if somebody buys your course, do you give them the WhatsApp that's like an information they know how to get in touch with you?
So if they just buy the self-paced course, then no, they wouldn't get the personalized WhatsApp support. That would be sort of additional support services provided in other layers of the program.
And that makes total sense to
Yeah,
me for everything I just said. Okay, and that's fine because you're giving everybody what they need. Not everybody needs that, so it's
exactly.
offering, yeah.
Yeah,
And you're giving the good. Here's what I know you need from personal experience, and here are all the other things you may need because you're
yeah,
different. You know, so I love
exactly.
that
Yeah,
about, yeah, I love that about yoga. It's not really one size fits all, but some things just resonate with all humans. Like once you
exactly.
realize, oh, I can do so much with my breath to calm me down. It's like, you know, not everyone's going to want to use the same breathing exercises, right? But once you get tuned in and realizing that I can do this with my breath, so I am so thrilled that you were able to spend this time with me. I'm excited for your program and what it
Thank
offers to
you.
people. Yeah, I
Thank
mean, and congratulations on finding what really makes. What do I want to say? Don't you feel like? Don't you wish that if everybody knew what they're supposed to be doing? Like you know what you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah, I think I think a nice way to say it is it really lights me up. Like I feel inspired to do this, and I really want to do this and provide the support. So I feel like saying it lights me up is really appropriate.
I agree. I agree. So congratulations and thank you. And yeah, what a Talk Tuesday this been.
Thank
Can't get better
you.
than this. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're welcome. So how do we say okay, adios? I know, but if I was gonna say goodbye to a friend, amiga, you'd be amiga, right?
Yeah.
Amiga
Are
is
you
what
going
I
to ask me to practice my Spanish?
I
So you could say hasta luego. That's like see you soon.
okay. Hasta luego.
Hasta luego. Bye.